So let's talk about that word molar mass. That's a new word now that we're coming to. Okay? So this molar mass here, it says is where am I at? The mass of 1 mole of the substance. That's a TANCE. Whether I'm talking about atoms, substance, whether I'm talking about molecules, whether I'm talking about formula units, when I use the word molar mass, I'm talking about the 1 mole of that substance. And for an example, right now, if I'm only talking about carbon, just that element, this number, which is the mass number, is really the molar mass also for carbon. Now, if I'm talking about carbon dioxide, 12.011 is not going to be the molar mass. Why? Because it's a compound, and everything that we have is like bonded together, right? So it's not going to be just that number. Now, elements versus compounds when it comes to molar mass. Alrighty? When it comes to molar mass for an element, we are going to look on periodic table. Just look at the periodic table. If I'm talking about, for an example, calcium, 1 molar mass of calcium is this number right here. What if I'm talking about 2 atoms of calcium. Ooh. Then we're going to look at the periodic table and we're going to multiply that number by 2 because there's 2. Just 2 atoms. Okay, if I'm talking about 1 atom, then it's just that number by itself. But now, what if I'm talking about compounds? And it doesn't matter whether it's going to be molecule compounds or formula units compounds. What is a molecule? A nonmetal plus a nonmetal together. What is a formula unit? It's going to be a metal plus a nonmetal bonded together. So when we talk about compounds, a compound, again, whether it is going to be the molecule or formula unit, let's just pretend we're going to call it X and Y. We're going to call Y 3. There's 3 Y's. That's what the little number behind it. Is there a little number behind the X? No. But there is one. It's invisible. It's the number 1. Okay? So what we do is we have to actually find the molar mass by adding up all of the masses for that compound. For an example, X. How many X's do I have? 1. Okay? I'm going to get that number, 1. I'm going to multiply it from the periodic table, whatever that is. It's a make-believe number. And we're going to get a number over here. How about Y? How many Y's do I have? I have 3 Y's. Multiply that Y, because I looked him up on the periodic table. Again, he's make-believe, PT. You're going to get this number from the periodic table, multiply by 3. You're going to get a number over here. You're going to now find the total. You're going to add them together and find the total. And when you find this total, that is the molar mass for that compound. Okay? Not bad. It's pretty easy, actually. Finding the molar mass is really easy. So let's go ahead and let's do some practice over here. We want to practice a little bit of molar mass, I think we should. Okay? So, part over here. Find the molar mass of each of the following. Oh, let's turn the page so we can find. What else? What are we looking for? 1 mole of aluminum. Okay, so 1 mole of aluminum is going to be an element off the periodic table. And actually, they said 1 mole. 1 mole is 1 atom. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go look at the periodic table. Aluminum is right here, Al. 26.982. So 26, oops, here it is, 0.98. In chemistry class, we are only, for molar mass, they only go over to the second digit behind the decimal, 982. Am I going to leave that as an 8 or round it up? There's a 2 behind it, so I leave it as the 8. The SI unit for molar mass is going to be grams per mole. Okay? And that equals 1 mole of aluminum. Okay? 1 mole of aluminum is this right here. And that's your answer. I know I boxed that in, but this is your answer over here. Okay? Let's keep going. 1 mole of CO2. This is a compound. What kind of compound? Both of those are going to be nonmetals. This is a molecule. Okay? So let's look at that. We need to break it up into the different elements from the periodic table. There's C's and there's O's. How many C's do I have? 1. How many O's do I have? 2. That little 2 behind it. What is the number from the periodic table for C? That number is 12.01. What is the periodic number for O? It's actually 15.999. And truthfully, in chemistry class with chemists, they just round that number automatically to 16 and leave it alone. 15.999. They round it up at 16 and they leave it alone. Okay? When using oxygen. And that's just something you just memorize. Now we're going to get 12.01 times 1 is 12.01. 16 times 2 is 32. We are going to add those numbers together to find the total of 44.01 grams per mole. And all of this, or this right here, is 1 mole of CO2. Okay? So when we ask for 1 mole of CO2, the answer is 44.01 grams per mole. And that is the correct SI unit when it comes to molar mass. Okay? Maybe we should add that into our notes now that I think about it. Let's see, where is it in our notes? Molar mass. Maybe I should put it right here. The SI unit is grams per mole. Okay, for molar mass. There we go. I think that's important for us to know. Let's keep going. We're just practicing still. 1 mole of C parentheses NO2 parentheses 2. Okay, so what are we doing? Well, we need to figure out first thing that this is a compound, obviously, and compounds are made up of atoms or elements from the periodic table. But when it comes to parentheses, then this 2 is like kind of like math class. When you have when you're doing that distribution and you have the parentheses, this 2 not only goes into the inside here, it also goes to this one over here. So first thing is the CU is on the outside by itself. So I'm going to put CU. How many do I have? What's the number behind CU? The number behind CU is 1. Oops. Okay. Next one. Let's look at it. The N is right there after the CU. There's a parentheses. So I'm going to put an N. How many? Well, but in the parentheses, there's a number 1 behind the N. It's invisible. 1 times 2 is 2. What's the next element? Oxygen. Is there a number behind it? Yes, a 2. And there's parentheses with the 2. You're going to go and multiply. This 2 goes into here and multiplies it. So 2 times 2 is 4. Let's go to the periodic table now. 1 times, go to the periodic table and find Cu, which is copper, 63.55. And for nitrogen, 2 times, what's the atomic mass number? 14.01. Oxygen, there are 4 of them. We said that we automatically will just round it to 16. So now let's go ahead and do this. 63.55. 14.01 multiplied by 2 comes out to 28.02. And 16 times 4 is 64. Add all of those numbers together. We get, and I might be a little off, but I think it's 0.57, 8, 9, 10, 5, 15, 12, 13, 14, 15. 155.57. What's the SI unit? Grams per mole. And this is equal to 1 mole of Cu parentheses NO2 parentheses 2. Okay? And this is going to help guide us into our next part, which is conversions using dimensional analysis. There is no way other to get around it. You have to use dimensional analysis on this next part. Okay? And the flow chart that we're going to do as well is going to help us. Okay? Or the foldable is really what hopefully help us when it comes to this. This next part is a doozy. It gets most students every single year. So I need to pause for a moment, charge my phone, come back, and then we can re-go again on this part.